Hi, everyone. Welcome to another conversation in SoulFull Travel Adventures with our amazing guest today, Darius Barazandeh. Sorry if I'm mangling that.
No problem. Barazandeh.
Barazandeh. Sorry, that is so unique. So he is taking us on an amazing adventure today through 5G to 5D, 3 steps to ensure the 5th dimensional timeline. And so you'll definitely want to stay tuned because this is going to be an amazing conversation. And he is offering an extraordinary free gift to one live listener. And the MP3 is Embrace Your Own Power. And for those of you unfamiliar with Darius, he is the founder and CEO of You Wealth Revolution, which reaches more than 10 million people in more than 190 countries. From a near-death to breakthrough, Darius was awakened to a gift. Through a motorcycle crash in 2008, Spirit allowed him to see the energetic pattern behind all things. His energy gift guides each session into the highest transformational energy healing experience for the listener. Each week, tens of thousands of people are led back to the true knowing of their own hearts through You Wealth Revolution's free listening platform. His breakthrough discovery of the limitless process is becoming well known for creating near instant changes in clarity, the healing of emotional and financial blocks. And his students have reported life-changing breakthroughs in business, life, and fulfillment through Darius's methods. In addition to emotional freedom, his students have created multiple 6-figure businesses all over the world. So it's absolutely an astounding platform. And he has started a training called Soul Genius Circle, which I personally love. I'm a member of. It's chock full of information that will help you succeed in any dynamic of your life. So I highly recommend checking it out. And thank you so much for being here and joining us and sharing yourself with everybody here.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be here and honored to get invited and share the space with everybody on such an amazing platform like this. I truly am excited today.
Well, thank you. So I think the biggest question everybody always has, especially for people within this arena, is what was your journey to awakening? What was the catalyst that inspired this lifestyle for you and starting these platforms?
Yeah, I think it probably began just coming into this planet and like a lot of people here, not really understanding why things were the way that they are, and really questioning what am I doing here, as you maybe as a child feel the heaviness or feel that frequency of just, this feels a lot more dense than what I'm used to. So for me, that's kind of where it began. And I don't know for others, maybe you have those remembrances. I can think of watching the kids play soccer and wondering, why are we not just looking at the flowers or being in awe at nature, or, the ladybugs that are dancing in the springtime on the trees? And I was that sort of child, questioning why and questioning what versus all the conventional dualities and matrix systems that we find ourselves in, us versus them. And, this system of control and this system of competition and this system of battle and all of these things, it just didn't interest me at all. And, I was like a lot of people with that sensitivity that a lot of the listeners probably have. I started to feel, of course, that I was a little bit different, but that through the lens of our reality systems and sort of the polarity that we live through became something like something must be wrong. Something must be wrong with me. I'm different. I'm not like them. I don't have that same desire. I don't know how to do those things because I haven't made them a priority. So my priority, wasn't like learning to throw the ball and catch the ball and run touchdowns and shoot baskets. I was trying to figure out life and who I was and what was that divine spark within me that kept urging me to seek it and go deeper and try to find it. And that was really one of my quests as a kid. And I continued on the path, you know, going through school. I wasn't really a great student unless I really applied myself. And at some point I changed the idea of myself and really began to say, I'm going to do well. I'm going to excel. Right. And I did, but there was still that deep void. And so I sort of went through that journey that we may find ourselves in the matrix, where we do everything that we think we're supposed to do, that the system says, you do this and you'll be successful. You'll get the love from your parents. You'll get the good grades or whatever else. And this took me all the way up to about 37 years old. And I was miserable. Started a business I really didn't enjoy. I was an attorney. I was an MBA. I had a lot of professional pedigrees for all of the systems, and could spout that off at parties. And people understood what I did, and they felt content with it because it fit within their box. And everybody was happy, but I was miserable. And so on a Friday, July 29th, 2008, I went off-road riding on an extremely high-powered motorcycle that I had built up to be way too fast for any human being to ride, and had an accident about 50 miles an hour, went over the handlebars, landed head first, blacked out, lost feeling in my legs. And at that point, cellularly and visually and perceptually recorded outer body experience going into a seventh, eighth dimensional space. And I was in a field of just pure love and bliss and infiniteness. And my body had no boundaries, and I had no existence. I had no time, space, connection, or anchor points. And what was amazing to me is I remember this very vividly, blacking out and then being in this field of bliss, of grace. And in my own soul's holographic blueprint, like in the essence of me, because I remember asking the question, why do I feel like this is really everything that I was searching for in myself? I'm feeling it right now. Like I was face to face with the true energy of my own geometric soul grid. And the best parts of me were right there. All the things that we search for, so, you know, it was all right there. And I could feel it. And so when I came back down, of course, my arm was broken, my legs regained feeling, and I was a twisted mess. I went to the hospital, got my arm repaired that night, and came back, and my whole life sort of fell apart, but then at the same time fell into place. So, that was a bit of my awakening, but it was the catalyst that started a lot of things sort of rolling.
Right. And that's such a common story we hear so often about near-death experiences being a huge catalyst, because you see at that moment what's truly important at a soul level. You know, do you believe that your scope moved from, you know, the things that society values, success, money, right? Maybe a little surface level relationships and those types of dynamics, to understanding you want that heart and soul in everything you do, and happiness is of the utmost importance. And maybe that means slowing down and not having as many, you know, relationships, quality over quantity, right? Kind of making that quality the ever present theme of your life. Was that some of what you experienced?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a big piece of it. The other piece, I think, was really getting to see the blueprint. There was a visceral remembrance of what this felt like. It wasn't just like, okay, I had this great blissful experience. I can go there now. And I've heard from a lot of, you know, guests on the show that we talk about this, or they look into my field and they say there's still a doorway to that. They left that open for you, so you can go and you can share this with the world. So the doorway's open. And if I go back in there and connect into that bliss field, if you will, it felt and feels very much like a kid on Christmas morning, you know, to put it in sort of materialistic space, but in the eyes of a child, that infinite excitement, that infinite bursting of our own divine soul blueprint coming forward in that excitement. Now imagine that coming back down into this holographic polarity filled world with all of these structures that are these, artificial sort of I call it, you've said the word too, like the death matrix or the death cult of sort of our third dimensional world that is rapidly showing itself to be falling away in many respects.
Right.
Like, wow, how much more of that do I want to create using those tools? And you then decide, it's like, if that is not real, if that didn't bring me joy, but this did, then I am now going to let those pieces fall away, and I'm going to rebuild myself from the organic geometric soul grid of my own presence of what am I here to do? What is my soul genius? What am I really designed to be? And then you start looking, and this is one of the things I want to talk about on the call, you start looking for things I call siphons. These are energetic siphons that are pulling off your life force, pulling off this awareness that you had before you even came here. And these can be governmental systems, media systems, control systems, ways and means and expectations that you have. And you start noticing these. So I started noticing that. I was like, wow, I've got all these siphons pooling my energy, the siphon of the little boy that wasn't smart, the siphon of I'm not lovable, the siphon of I have to work, really, really hard and suffer in order to have just the modicum of success. Each one of these siphons were pulling me from what I really was. And that was really when the real journey began.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. And just a heads up for all of our callers, the call-in number is 1-800-930-2891. If you would like to speak live with Darius, please do call in. But so with this experience and with this doorway that's still open and being able to what I call veil walk between all of the dimensions and what we call the veiling, right? Our amnesia, forgetfulness of our true soul's nature and ability to create infinitely within the living grid. What would be your explanation of what we're seeing with this unveiling, this illumination process that we're experiencing currently, socioeconomically? I mean, it's just so, in my opinion, amazing to see the truth coming out so that can reach that level of discernment. We can decide for ourselves and even have access to it. So what's your take as a veil walker, moving between all of these dimensional fields and the shift that we're seeing now from maybe a higher perspective?
Yeah, I'll say it in very high perspective, high consciousness terms. We're seeing the shit show collapse literally before our eyes. All the false draconian systems and on all sides are being strained to the point of collapse so that we can awaken. So whether we are on what we call this side of the aisle or that side of the aisle, all of the systems for each person are bringing up into an energetic form, into that energy made form, so we can actually identify where it is that these shadows need to be released in our world. So, I mean, the people protesting whatever they're protesting, whether anybody here agrees or not, for them, they are sensing that something is not right. Something is not right in their world based on their worldview or their collective view. And that is a breakdown. And then on another side where people are saying, well, we don't want this particular thing. So in every level, it is breaking down. And this is sort of like this false illusory world that was created all the way back, the Babylonian grid, the Babylonian energetics, the blood cults and all of these sort of things that, can get very dark. But all of these systems are breaking down, and a lot of the collectivist systems are breaking down too. So a lot of these world organizations that have very benevolent terms that seem like they're for, one humanity and freedom and all of these things are starting to break down to show themselves. Well, are they really? Were they ever really? And then we're starting to see the people that we've held up as being the role models, the idols, the elites, or the ones that they say are elites, starting to show like themselves as well. What are they really doing? How many trips to, Epstein Island did so-and-so take? I mean, I was watching yesterday was one of the conventions. You had one of the speakers was somebody that was 11 times on the plane with Epstein. And this person is speaking in front of a nationwide audience about some sort of future. And there's even a cloud of possibility that this person was, harming underage children. I mean, to me, that is the symbolic death of any sort of false world. And I'm not just saying from that side, from all sides, you're going to see this. So I'm not singling out one group. And that's the thing is, It's very easy to get into the polarity. The thing I recommend is, we could talk about all the examples, is to exit all of the siphons, to look at that when you get connected to a cult of personality or an individual, and they are the hope you are putting into your future, as they are going to be the ticket to the new world. They are going to make everything great. You are siphoning off your energy. You're siphoning off your divine blueprint. And that is what we are all waking up to, whether it is this person or that person or this group or that group. We are all going through our own awakening process, so we can let go of all of that, kind of like I did and you did 10, 20 years ago. Right. And we can now say, where am I going to be in my power? And in that power, we are each going to elevate our frequency, and then some interesting things are going to start to happen.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think that's the beauty of this year is, so many people are talking about sovereignty, but what I'm seeing is, if you truly want to be a sovereign soul, you have to understand what that means. And it means to take full responsibility for who you are as an individual player within the holographic field. And you have to understand, every choice you make, it's always up to you. So if you're looking for someone else to save you, which implies take some pain or suffering away with no, responsibility on your part, is that sovereignty? Or is it a siphoning situation, exactly as you're describing? Are you doing what we would call the crossroads trade, right? I'm going to bring you fame and fortune and all of these things instantly. But what you often don't realize is coming at the sacrifice of your soul sovereignty. We hear artists talk about this all the time. Just as one example, I sold my soul. I have no creative rights over my music anymore. I have to do what I'm told. So maybe that's, an observation point for some of our listeners that aren't familiar with what Darius is talking about, is what is the trade? There is always a trade, always. So what are you trying to get suckered into?
Yeah. And we're seeing it right now. I mean, I've gone on record. I don't mind saying it. I believe there's a ton of energy manipulation on all sides. I'm not going to single out one group. There's huge energy manipulation in the 3D grid right now. What we are seeing, in my opinion, is kind of like what I would call a temporal tug of war. And when you think of temporal, think about a timeline. So there's a tug of war between two different energy systems to basically choose what is the timeline of Earth. And so one timeline, you have the sovereignty system, which is each person able to live from their own truth, from their own bliss, from their own joy, and be able to have that soul sovereignty to live their life without harming others, but in the way that they choose. Right. And that means respecting their space and the space of others, being safe to live in that space, honoring who they are, honoring their choices, honoring every human being, every sentient being, not seeing color, not seeing any religious line, nothing. I mean, we are talking about really 5-dimension, 5-density consciousness. The other side of it is sort of like this statist slave system. And it is a system where we are rooted in to the system. We are anchored in through the most pained parts of ourselves. We are anchored and chained into this system. We are controlled. Our bodies are controlled. Our bodies are not our own. The state decides what it is that they are going to do with our body. I mean, there was an article today. Now, I don't know at this date of recording this, 8/19/2020, is it going to go through? But Australia was talking about a vaccine for the COVID-19, and that it was postulated it would be mandatory. So, right. and it's relatively going to be rushed to market, not tested. So when you see that, what system is that? Is that a sovereignty system? Is that a system of freedom? Is that a system of honor to the divine blueprint? Or is that a hijacked system? And then ask the question, why? What is really what would be to gain for that? And ultimately, I'll cut to the chase, and we don't have a lot of time, but the light wins. And there are certain energy systems that will not exist on the planet when we get to a certain octave, right? So as we lift that vibration, these systems, kind of like if you take a Model T car, right? And you say, I'm going to take the original engine that was like a 2-cylinder, 10 horsepower, and I'm going to put a 500 horsepower dragster motor in this little Model T, if you could get it to all fit. And you take that thing and it's going like 150 miles an hour. It's going to fall apart, right? So they are systems from the military industrial complex to the pharmaceutical industrial complex to all sorts of complexes that will not survive the higher resonance and the truth coming into every human. So the control and anchoring us in to that trauma and to the sins of the past, and then injecting them onto the generations to come and everything else is a very powerful energy manipulation. So I tell people, do not necessarily root for one side or the other. I don't do that. I see like infinite timelines. What I say is be on the side of freedom and sovereignty, whatever that looks like, because these are only chess pieces on a chessboard. And whether it's the knight or the king or whatever it is, they're all going to change. Be on the side of that and direct your energy towards that. And then from there, we can begin to break free and lift the grid for everybody.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think it's important. I would like to note, because I see this happening quite often. It's really important to understand you don't have the right to violate someone else's sovereignty as well. I see this a lot. People, often tampering and saying, I'm putting the false light or entities or whatever they're referring to. I'm encasing it in light. Or I'm, changing the weather patterns, or I see so many examples, but that what I believe, and this is just my opinion, so fill into it for yourself, is that is also a violation of sovereignty, of that being sovereignty, even if it is, something, of the false light or something that's dark. That's so you have to be careful. You're not being a little hypocritical and saying my sovereignty trumps someone else's sovereignty. So I think the best thing we can do is be an example of sovereignty and lead people into that. And then the false light and entities and all of these things can't manipulate people and influence them out of their sovereignty. And we spend our time and our focus on that instead of violating another being's sovereignty. But that's just my take on it, because I see it happening a lot. But if you're ready, how do you feel about taking a caller? We have quite a few people waiting on the line to talk with you.
I'd love to. Let's do it. And if anybody's got a challenge or they want to, look in to see, is there a siphon or something that is draining my energy? And I'll be honest, I have these happen in my own life as well. So, we can start to move that. Maybe there's nothing, and we'll just lift the energy as much as we can.
Okay. And if everyone can just be as specific as possible, just a reminder for people who may not be familiar with reading energy, humans really do have an immense amount of information lines within them. So if you can focus on one thing you would love to have Darius's assistance with, that would help speed everything up and help him zoom in on it immediately. So let's open up the line to Ardell from Victoria.
Hi, Ardell.
And Ardell, you're on with Chameice and Darius. Ardell, are you there?
We must have lost her.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just do Marilyn from Georgia.
All right, Marilyn, you're on with Chameice and Darius.
Are we having a phone line glitch?
Oops.
I always say we're going to do some big energy work when the little gremlins come in and
All right. How about Destiny from Michigan? Is she on the line?
All right, Destiny, are you there? You're on with Chameice and Darius.
Hello?
Hello.
There you are.
Hi, how are you? Wow, interesting.
I'll work on clearing the field a bit. Maybe there's some interference.
Well,
We definitely
you know,
opened up some big topics here. and
that's
that
what I was
does
going to
it.
say.
We went very big, very fast. So things are aware of what we're going to do.
Yeah, think.
Okay, see, here she coming in. We're clearing and she's in.
There you go.
Yeah.
Are you there, Destiny?
Hey, oh my God, it's me. Yes,
It's
I am
you.
here. Wow. Yeah, and I've got a serious problem that relates totally to what you're saying.
Dive right in, goddess.
Yeah. So what's going on in a couple sentences?
I was abducted into the MK Ultra program as an infant.
Right.
Okay.
And this has been going on for 17 generations of my lineage.
Okay. So let me ask you this: in your day-to-day life, what are you experiencing? What's like the first word that comes into your heart and mind when you think of this?
Trauma and suffering.
Okay. So these are the two control mechanisms that that basically are installed that I see. So when that comes up and you bring that forward, that's your soul basically sharing with us. This is what we're gonna pull away today, and just bring in more light. And obviously, this is the kind of thing where you definitely are working on this through your life mission. So the thing to remember is that at some level, your soul, as hard as it may seem, chose to take this role on. So you have all of the tools and all of the higher dimensional help to actually handle this. So the siphons I'm seeing are in a couple places. There's in the heart and also in the crown. So this is telling me when you really open up your heart fully, you're going to open up to a very higher dimensional awareness and ability that you have that brings in a lot of light. So the way I work generally, I don't do it myself. I call on a team of higher guides and angels, Archangel Michael particularly, and many others that come in to help. So we're just going to begin clearing these, Destiny. And I work with the pendulum or any other tool. For me, it's just a representation of the energy moving. So as we're doing it, I asked if it was okay. They've given us consent. And so we're just going to move the energy through. And basically, we're just removing these siphons and unplugging them. And they're scooping up. What they do is basically scoop up a lot of the sometimes there's different energies that are just around your field. They could be beings, I should say, like lower 40 stuff. It could also just be extraneous things that are hanging around that are distortion patterns and trauma patterns. So they're scooping them up and just basically they're putting them in a big container and taking them off to the central sun just for what I call like reunification to whatever it is their next phase is. So we're working right now on the one on the heart. Yep. I'm moving that.
I gotta hold on to something. I'm about to fall down.
Goddess, may I ask, do you deal with the frequency targeting or the gang stalking? I've worked with many people with MK Ultra, that have been in the programs, and they often talk about the frequency targeting and the stalking being two of the biggest issues they see. Are those issues that you face as well?
Are you asking me or Darius?
Yes. No, you.
Okay. I can hardly hear what you're saying. I can hardly hear you.
I'm sorry. Do you deal with the frequency targeting? The energy beams, I guess, is the best way to describe it, that causes the distortion. Usually people feel it physiologically, or gang stalking. Have those been issues prevalent in your life with this?
what it appears like to me, what I feel like is happening to me is like a lot of spells, hexes, witchcraft, black magic. So I'm like constantly getting cursed.
Okay.
So I'm not sure about all of them technical names, but for me it just feels like a lot of darkness, and I feel like my technical issues every which way I go. My money, I hardly ever have money because everything goes out. So it's all just a lot of negativity.
So what they're doing right now is clearing energy all around your field. So there's a lot of different stuff there, and a lot of it turbulence patterns, some different types of lower 40 stuff. I don't want to say entities. There's just a lot of different energies. So as soon as this is done, we've done the heart, and now we're going to work on the crown, which is running right now. So you should start to feel just like there is a little more, they're telling me now they're done, a little bit more of a connection to something higher coming in. How are you feeling right now?
Wow. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling some energy moving.
Okay.
Like I had to take a deep breath because.
Yeah, just ground in. Don't let your mind look for where there's still heaviness. Focus in on the light. As we say, like you want to go towards the light. You want to go into that field, into that bliss field, into that higher field, and really immerse yourself in it. Feel into it. And what will happen is you're going to retrain and re-ingrain your system to be in that higher dimensional frequency grid. And we are all doing that. We are moving into a 12-strand DNA. And what a lot of these programs were in place to do at different levels was to lower the human evolution so that we don't actually ascend. There's just certain frequencies and with that associated things on this planet that are not going to be able to survive. So there was this incentive to hold everything down. We're seeing it now. You are breaking free from that. So go as high as you can that is safe to you. Ask your guides for help, and then keep plugging into that highest space that is allowable to you. And let that fill your field right now and today as we go forward.
Okay, thank you so much.
Many blessings.
You. Yeah, and this will keep running. I mean, they're basically, they've made coordinates, and like she's asked. So, Michael and the team and some of the different guides are working with you. So it's just a matter of asking, like just ask and seek that higher energy is if you start to feel a little bit off. And I want to say something, because these type of things are very powerful right now. When you see some of and I'll go right at it, I don't care, the violence, the harm of people, and the energetic manipulation that is happening, not just in the United States, but all over the world. There's energies that are taking our soul essence and manipulating, hijacking it for very nefarious ends. So there are a lot of people under sort of a spell, and this is getting broken. So we have to really be careful as to what we put our energy into. So we also have a lot of responsibility. So I will give people 3 steps they can use as well as before we end the call.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, you talk about the freedom point within your system. And so what exactly, how would you describe your freedom point technique, and why is it really important right now?
Yeah, this freedom point is really about your own soul sovereignty and connecting to that. So all of us, as I shared, have this geometric soul grid that is our own divine sovereignty. So what I would ask everyone to do right now to begin to connect with that is just to go to the space of your own essence. Imagine that you literally are not incarnated into this earth. You're not your gender. You're not your name. You're not your physical address. You're not the house that you live in, the car that you drive. You're not your body, be it a body of health, a body that doesn't feel so healthy right now in the physical sense. You are none of that. Imagine yourself as literally just beingness, just your pure essence. and feel into what would you be if all of that stuff that is you on this planet Earth that describes you, we just took all of that and we just put it into a beautiful, safe bubble. And it's just off to the side of the awareness, the freedom point that is what you are. And now feel what you start to feel like from there. It's almost as if you unzipped the suit of your earth presence, of your earth character, and that seed, that spark, that freedom point within you just came forward. And it's like this glowing ball, if that works for you. If you can imagine that, a glowing ball that is free. And we're going to just shroud this in a lot of divine protection, because some of you will start journeying into different parts of the galaxy. Where would you go with this free ball, this freedom point that you are? Visiting maybe dimensions and planets and experiences and angelic realms and different frequency fields. So this is really what we all are, right? We are all of that.
Right.
And if we get to understand that, now when we look at somebody in the eyes, and one of the things when I came back from my experience, it was so hard to talk to people, because what I saw was my own soul light just right in front of me. And when I would talk to people, like, that's what I wanted to see in everybody I talked to. I was like, I don't want to know what you do. I don't care, where you're from. I don't care what you look like. I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't care anything, right? I want to see that glimmer in your eye. Like, what is that thing that makes that spark come through this human flesh and through the retina and through the eyes and through this human matrix, and starts to enliven and animate that divine Christos template that we all originate from through your human form, and see that. That's what my whole conversations and mission in life became, which of course get very hard to, sit with the local neighborhood people and chat
Right.
over barbecue and beer. It doesn't work very well.
Right.
Like, that's boring. I don't want to know what you do. Who cares? What are you? What planet do you come from? What system? So this is what we can activate first, is that freedom point.
That's beautiful. I just did a little shorty practice while you were talking, and it seems probably a little like a silly answer, but literally when you peel back all of the shoulds and coulds and just kind of all of this programming that we've been taught, you honestly, what I felt right underneath of all of that was the exact same experience I feel when I go into the source blueprint. It's just pure unconditional love with just such an immense amount of energy, because everything is flowing so effortlessly in that space of love. That could you imagine what this, living grid would look like if everybody truly was coming from a space of unconditional love? Not any preconceived notions, nothing of I need something in return. Just sheer and utter love for everyone being seen, heard, and succeeding in life. And that just moving through the entire grid.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is the first step, and I want to get to get to two and three.
Right.
Because the next thing we have to do is it involves the siphons, right? So if you are that freedom point, if you are that divine spark that is free to travel anywhere in the universe, that is infinite, boundless, that is beyond the body, beyond the skin color, beyond whatever it is, the construct that we have adopted in this third dimensional dystopian matrix, then you also have things that we have created around our world that conceal that. We have added layers, and we have added frequency fences and hooks and anchors and siphons. So we want to revoke consent. We want to revoke consent verbally to anything. And y'all can just, feel into what I say, and then you can, re-listen, but revoke consent to anything that is not of my divine soul sovereignty. We revoke consent to the systems of control, the systems of manipulation, the system of harvesting our energy, the system of siphoning our divine life force, of separating us in humanity, separating us by race, by gender, by origin, by country, by anything that keeps that divine essence and that blueprint from truly in each person connecting. And as we do that, we also then can reactivate what we came here to be. And so, think about in your day, how do you spend your time? Do you wake up in the morning and check the news to see if your side, quote unquote, is winning, or your side did the right thing or your side didn't? I mean, I know I've done that. I know I've looked at the things that reinforce a certain set of beliefs I have. And if I find that that's happening in reality, I feel really good. And if not, it's like I'm constantly tethered to the next, 10-minute news cycle to see something that makes me feel like my beliefs are going to be validated, right? So that type of behavior, even if we revoke all the consent on a daily basis, will tether us down to a crumbling system. So we don't want to do that. We want to revoke this consent, and we want to be in our geometric soul grid.
Perfect. I love it. So we'll pull in another caller real quick before Darius goes into the last step. So it looks like Marilyn from Georgia called back again. Is she there?
Yeah, we've got Marilyn from Georgia. Marilyn, you are on with Chameice and Darius.
Yes, I would like to know if there is any adverse energy affecting me at this time. I try to clear everything I know to clear.
Okay, what's the first word that comes to your mind right now? That one. What was it?
Low energy, kidney chi.
Say that again.
Low kidney chi.
Okay. What's the first color?
Orange.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the things I would say is, I don't see anything really major. The one area that they're showing me is in this survival root area, which is probably related to the kidneys. And it's kind of like what I would call like a phase 1 siphon, where do you find there's a little bit of like survival energy and like fear of just kind of the unknown? I mean, we all do, but does that feel like something that can be debilitating at times? And again, we all do, but for you, does that land?
Well, I'm not aware of it. It doesn't feel that way, but, there could be, like you said, everyone has it. How can I block or transmute?
Well, this drains our liver energy, our chi, it drains our life force. So, that's likely what I'm picking up. And, you feel into it. Why don't we do a little bit of clearing work on it and then see how you feel afterwards? And I'll ask permission, and then, we'll get started. So they're saying, let's do it. So we are good to go. And so what I would ask you to do is just focus in right now as we're doing this energy clearing work, just pulling some of this energy out, and they're just looking at your field. So what I'm seeing is kind of like a siphon right around the kidney area. It's just associated to a fear, something that happened a long time ago where you were caught off guard. So it's not really like survival of like food and that sort of thing and shelter, but just sort of like the surprise or being unprepared for something that could be coming or something that happened in the past. So this siphon is just kind of draining that energy of being in the moment. So we're just going to allow them to remove that, and then they seal it up. So it's getting sealed up. If you imagine a hose getting like fused, and it is basically wrapped up and put in a bag, and they're just scanning your energy field everywhere, going around, which is good, and picking off anything else that's just holding any space or draining any of that energy and taking it away. And so right now they're just going to bring in some higher vibrational love. I'm going to open up a space where I was called the blue zone. As some people have told me, I've never heard that term before, but 3 people told me about a blue zone. I was like, okay, I'll do that. That's maybe what it was. So we're going to open up space from there and just sending that over to you. So imagine like a big field of love, of bliss, of joy, of expansion, no boundaries, no limitations, infinite everything, infinite supply, infinite possibilities, and just bathing you in that field now. So just plug into that and let me know how you're feeling whenever you feel called, if you wish.
Well, I did feel some energy in my lower back. It looked like a blue light, kind of white, but blue on the blue end.
Interesting. Yeah. That's where I saw it was like, right. I guess that's the kidneys area, like the back part. So yeah, that's good. So that was probably a concentration of energy being sent there to where that's where I saw the siphon. I mean, that's where it looked like it was pulling energy. So now with that gone, just stay in that energy, in that blue zone, in that frequency, and go about your day creating what you want and being in a state of bliss and possibility.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Thank you guys so much. And I just want to get this out. So everybody, Darius is offering an amazing MP3 called Embracing Your Own Power, which, as he shared with us all today, this is so important, especially this year. We're still in the Lionsgate energy for a few more days. The other beauty of today is we're actually in a really rare black new moon. So the energy of today is of creating new beginnings. You get to decide what you want to create next. If you've been unhappy, if you've been miserable, then this will put you in the frequency of your own power to know that you're in charge of creating the tomorrow that you seek. No one else. You're not leaving it to chance or hoping that someone's going to, be your cheerleader and help you create it. So in this audio, Darius talks about the 3 ways that we can subvert our power and how these simple 3 things keep us blocked in a life of impossibility. Learn how you can master these things, and in the mastering of your energy and how you think, you're drawing upon these energies into your life and becoming your life master in your own way. So becoming a sovereign soul, realizing your infinite creation potential. And as always, as I said, Darius has an amazing Soul Genius group. If you want to go deeper, if you want to know more about some of the things he's talked about today and how you can stay in your truth and in your power, not get sucked into all of these many agendas that are playing out right now. Because what I've discovered is the path, the truth is generally in the middle. It's the golden thread of truth. It's not one extreme or the other. So we want to find that path within ourselves, what resonates with us moment to moment, because it will change as we grow and expand. Your truth today may not be your truth tomorrow. So having some assistance, having someone walk you through that's already been there and that is a veil walker could be incredibly beneficial. So you can check him out at soulgenius.com to learn more about his group. And as I said, I highly recommend it. He has some amazing insights and observation points to help you find that middle path of truth, that point of getting out of your head, releasing some of the agendas and some of the media perspective so you can feel what feels right to you and find out and discover what you want to move into next. So any final thoughts or shares that you have with everyone here?
I do. Yeah. I want to share the 3rd step to breaking free, which is going to be awesome. Yeah. We're going to cover that. And yeah, at that page, soulgenius.com, we've got actually 3 secrets to actually creating from your soul genius. It's a webinar I did that shares a little bit of my story, but also some of the ways that I undertook that. And everybody has a creative genius. Everybody is a genius. There's messenger geniuses. There's inventor geniuses. There's architects that design systems. There's ways that you are a genius. And it's in this process of my own self-discovery of my genius through sort of breaking that veil that I found what it was for me that let me take the mission and bring it to the world. And a lot of people that have a great mission or they have a great idea, they don't know how to do that. It's not something that is taught. How do you live your soul mission, right? It's not necessarily taught in a way that makes it even commercially viable for you to support your family and have an abundant life doing something that you love. So Soul Genius is all about that. And also we have You Wealth Revolution, which is our show. You can check that out. We have a great season coming up here in about 3 weeks or so, or 4 weeks it's starting up. So that's another place to check out what we're doing, which is youwealthrevolution.com. So the third step is to act in love. And this one is interesting because what a lot of people will think is that, okay, I'm just going to see everything as love. But what I ask people to do is really begin to see everything as working towards you. So the systems that we talked about, the things collapsing, the things we don't like, even if we look at something like a vaccine potentially being mandatory in Australia, don't know where that's going to go. But we can say thank you. Thank you to the misguided souls that are attempting to dictate over men and women's bodies what is put into that body. And thank you for them doing that because they are the catalyst for us to see the dark that needs to get lifted, the dark that needs to be removed and awoken as well. They are working through their shadow, playing that shadow character role so we can then awaken to our hero's journey and be who we came here to be. So everything is working for this ascension. This timeline is going to happen. It's just now we have to, each of us, anchor it in. So the 3 steps again is really begin to plug in, act in love, and begin to see everything is working for you in this ascension, because it is going to get wild. It is going to get probably more crazy. There's going to be more of that polarity as the systems break away, but we have to see this as part of all of these dark things being released and revealed so that now we can live in the 5th dimensional and above space that we all truly, have come here to experience. This is why we signed up. So it is all in a divine order, even if at times it just doesn't seem like it's really going in the right direction. It all is in divine order.
Absolutely. So, I greatly appreciate you being here and sharing probably 3 of the most simply transformational steps people can take. Things that are not overwhelming, not a plethora of information that you have to try to remember, but just 3 things that people can anchor into that just has that divine simplicity. For everyone to move forward and for being willing to, probably the most important part is being courageous enough to speak up on some of this subject matter, because I know it's incredibly difficult for a lot of people to do so, because it's, can be very triggering at a soul level for people to receive, this amount of information about what's going on in our world. So thank you for being one of the many courageous people that are willing to share this truthful information. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you. My message from when we started 10 years ago has always been about freedom and sovereignty, and it doesn't change. So while what people talk about in transformation and energy has gone from The Secret to this and that, my message from that divine experience was all about the sovereignty of the soul. So it doesn't change. Perfect. It's the same. And I appreciate you also honoring that message and allowing me to share today with everyone.
I appreciate it. And thank you for joining us on SoulFull Travel Adventures. And you can catch us every other Wednesday right here on transformationtalkradio.com. So have an amazing rest of your week, everyone.
Much love. Thanks.